Was having some issues with keyframes and things slowing down a little bit, but hopefully I'm not going to run into those kinds of problems here. So everybody, I'm Jason Brenizer. Whoever's watching this right now, this is the Phenomenal Future Project, and we are going live. By we, I mean me and my computer and my camera and all of that. It's just me tonight. We are, it's like royal we here or something. I don't know what's going on tonight, but it's like 11:37 p.m. where I am. Now, I had an amazing seminar today with Tony Robbins and Dean Graciosi and other amazing people, and I really love getting the kinds of insights that they have. Now, I'm going to share some things that I learned today. Now, I've learned these things before. We've gone through some of these exercises, but I have to tell you, today, as we were going through some of this stuff, it was about a 4-hour seminar today, and I've got a few more days to go. Strangely enough, I allowed myself to open up a little bit more than I usually do, and there was one exercise where I even cried tears of joy, which honestly, I have no idea when that happened the last time in my life. And I just want to say that no matter how much we think we know something, knowing it up here and knowing it in here, I'm pointing to my heart, are two different things, okay? And then also being able to teach something is a little bit different than just listening to something or writing it down. Now, of course, taking notes is a good way to help imprint some of the things that you're learning. So if you have the opportunity to do that, you can type on your computer or you can write with actual ink and paper if you'd like. But I suggest that maybe some of the things that I'm covering might be useful for you. To get the things that you want in your life, you have to start asking yourself some better questions, and definitely write down what those answers may be, and don't always take the first answers at face value. Okay, digging deep is usually really important. So I put together a few slides to go over this today, so I'm going to just jump right on over here. So like I said, this is the Phenomenal Future Project. I am working on a podcast. We have different programs that we're creating. It's all about passion. Your passion as artists who want to grow your fan base and have an amazing, lucrative career, especially musicians out there, and especially technologically savvy, or at least people who are not afraid of technology. Those are the people I'm searching for. So I would love for you to get this presentation out to any people you know that fit the bill there. But also, if this doesn't describe exactly who you are, and a friend suggested this to you, it may be because this is totally applicable in your life, even if you're not an artist, if you are an engineer or whatever. There may still be something useful here for you. So let's move on to the next slide here. And I want to talk about getting our minds right. And there are a lot of things we could cover here. I could probably talk for 1,000,000 hours and we'd still be able to still have more to talk about. But I'm going to cover one thing today, just one thing. And the first thing here on the list for our outline is how. The word how is an abyss. Or another way to put this is how, the word how, digs a hole, gets us in trouble. We'll cover that. I'm going to cover 2 questions that will increase your personal power. I'm going to cover and ask, what do you actually believe? What are your beliefs? Then, what do you need to believe to stick to something for years and become a master? And then we'll cover one simple exercise at the end that you can do to really put a lot of what I'm going to cover into practice. So, the abyss. There's something you want to do, but you don't know how. Okay? Now, a lot of what I cover in these live videos here, this is what, day 23, I believe, of me going live, and I plan on doing that 365 days in a row, right? There are a lot of things that I don't know how to do. And if I get stuck in that constant mire of how do I do this, how do I do that? For instance, I didn't know how to stream anything before. I didn't know, could I stream to multiple locations, platforms at the same time? Is that possible? I didn't know exactly how to get my camera to output information into my computer so that I could do streaming. How? You can see how those stack upon each other a lot and could quickly overwhelm you. There's so many things that you don't know how to do just right now, right this minute. But there are also things that you don't know how to do that you feel like you're going to need to know how to do 3 months from now, 6 months from now, 3 years from now. You might have a giant vision for what your career can be, or the things that you want and desire in your life, where you want to go. You may be in a job right now where you're making $40,000 a year, and yet you have this desire to be able to, I don't know, make $1 million a year and have that be passive income and not active income, not trading your time for dollars. That seems like a giant leap, doesn't it? There are so many things that you would have to become and believe and do and figure out to get to that point, and that would be overwhelming. So if we start there, we often stop there and don't take any action and never have any progress in where we want to go. So, as I said, how is digging a hole. It's an abyss that seems impossibly deep and impossibly black and dark and opaque, and you don't know what's in there, and it is scary, okay? So we need you to start asking better questions. So let's set how aside for a while. Like I said here, ask how do I do it? And you get fear, doubt, and uncertainty, right? That overwhelm. These emotions will rise up and block you from doing anything. The uncertainty that comes from all of those questions, right? This belief that you can't do all of those things, and it may very well be true that you currently can't do all the hows right now. That's going to douse your fire. It's going to douse your passion. It's going to drown it in water. Okay, so yeah, you get too much H2O on this, and then the abyss fills up with water, and you're going to drown, right? So that's no good. And it's as simple as shifting, like I said, from how. We're going to put it aside, and we're going to focus on two other questions: what and why. And those questions are going to fan the flames of your certainty. And once you have certainty about something, you'll be able to start taking action. So, what people, sorry, people do what they believe, okay? So, and we'll get more into belief in a minute. But first, let's go to these two questions. What do you want? That's the certainty question number 2. Number 1. Ha! Oh boy. Like I said, I just put this together tonight. So bear with me as I go through this with you. But so what do you want and why do you want it? Okay, those two questions. I mean, you know what you want, right? Well, maybe you don't know exactly what you want. Maybe you want a million things and you have a hard time, collapsing it. Maybe within all of those things that you want, there are contradictory wants. I want this, but I want that. I want to, let's say, have a lot of variety in my life, and I also want security. So if variety means you want to be a world traveler and make a job from that, and kind of hop around from country to country and never really, be a digital nomad. Well, there's going to be a lot of uncertainty that comes with that, okay? And certainly you're going to have a lot of obstacles and challenges, and you're not going to have, in that sense, security. You may not know where your next place is that you're going to live. You're going to land in a town and have to find something. So those two wants might be contradictory. So it's really important not just to say, what do I want? But to say, what do I want more? And are those different desires contradictory and going to, again, create a dissonance in my brain so that I can't really take action? So I suggest you write down all the things that you want in your life and then figure out what's the most important. All right? And then the second thing is, why do you want it? In this case of being a digital nomad, why do you want to be able to travel around the world? What is it about traveling that's going to do for you? Also, let's say you have kids and you also want them to have this experience growing up. You don't want them to be stuck in one place. Well, why do you want that for them? What is that going to do for their lives? How is that going to set them up for success or open their world up? So those are some good whys to think about. So I want you to really think about this. The how gets set aside. You're going to get your reasons first, and then we're going to get the answers second. That's where the how comes in. So forget how for now. Answer what and why to build your belief and your certainty. I will say that one more time. Forget how for now. Answer what and why to build your belief and certainty. All right? Reasons first, answers second. Now, let's look and see what your current beliefs are. Now, I'm gonna use some examples here in the Web3 and the NFT space because that's what it is that I'm out there discovering and what I'm presenting most of the time here on my Phenomenal Future channels. And so, certainly think through this for yourself, but right now we'll go through this example here. And I'm going to use artists as an example as well. So what could be a limiting belief for someone who is an artist and has heard that maybe NFTs could really help them explode their career, but they keep asking the question, how? Well, okay, what are the things that might be getting in their way? Well, I'm not tech savvy enough. Well, how could we change that belief from a limiting belief into an empowering belief? So I'm not tech savvy enough as an artist. I don't know what that means necessarily, but I can say I can attract new fans who already use crypto and blockchain technologies. Hey, I think that got these flipped. Yeah, I did get these flipped. That is so funny. Again, I made this late at night, so you are working at this with me. So, okay, let's try this again. You're not tech savvy enough. You're an artist, and that's what you believe, okay? Well, I'm saying, if we look down at the bottom one here, on the bottom right, if you can tweet, if you can do a TikTok, if you can buy a book on Amazon, you can learn to connect a crypto wallet. It's not that complicated, okay? It's just something new, and the first time that you did one of those things, you set up a Twitter account or you got onto Facebook, it was a little bit awkward because you didn't really understand the interface all that well and you didn't know the terminology, but you quickly figured it out. So just want to throw that out there. Now, if your fans aren't tech savvy enough, well, rather, this works for them. They can also figure out how to connect a wallet, but that's your current fans. Well, an empowering belief that would open things up for you is, well, you can attract new fans who already use crypto and blockchain technologies. So they're not going to be afraid. And what does that do? That increases your overall audience size. Okay. Sorry, this exercise is a little clunky, but I think you get the idea of what I'm trying to cover here. Really, look at what your current beliefs are. Ask yourself, are they real or are they just stories? Are they worries? Are they fears and doubts? Well, what if we could set aside the fears and doubts and look at it from a different angle? That's what this exercise is about. Now I want to tell you a little bit of a story here about a gentleman who it's hard to believe his story. And Tony Robbins shared this today, and that's why I want to share it with you, because it really stuck with me. So this guy's name is Mel Fisher. Now, he found, we'll just call him a treasure hunter, okay? And he did some digging in the archives about, different Spanish ships that had been taking all of the wealth of the Americas and taking it back over to Europe in the heyday of Spain in the 1500s. And he was looking specifically for, well, he knew that there certainly had been plenty of shipwrecks. And he was just searching for very specific ships that were supposed to have a lot of gold and other resources on it, and information about where they might have gone down. So he spent years looking through the archives and trying to circle in on smaller and smaller locations for something great. He found this one mythical shipwreck that was supposed to be the biggest of the biggest, that would have the most treasure on it. Okay, so he found that there was one, and he also found some hints about where it might be. It took him a long time. After 3 years in gathering some money from a number of investors and spending his own money, he took a ship out, he went to search for something, and came back with nothing. Total failure. Burnt up probably millions of dollars. He started again. He went to look for more information. He tried, to get more money and find a new team, and he failed again. And then he continued to do this process. He never gave up. I mean, people died while they were searching for different wrecks. They found different wrecks, but there was nothing in them. It wasn't the right wreck, so again, failure. And the big question here is, how long should this guy stick with something before giving up on his big dream? I guess this is kind of like playing the lottery, right? I mean, yeah, he's gathering information and trying to, hone in on the possibilities. But it's like a needle in a haystack. Oceans are rather large, and historical records from the 1500s aren't giving you longitude and latitude, okay? So how long would you stick with something like this? How long have you stuck with something that, you were just grinding away at and having absolutely what you felt was no progress whatsoever? Well, what would you have to believe? Like Mel Fisher, what did he believe? To go 16 years without a glimmer of success. 16 years. Finally paid off for him. After 16 years, Mel Fisher found that ship, the exact one that he had discovered in the archives. And the treasure was worth about $1 billion. Or was it $500 million? $500 million, 500 million. I think that's what Tony said. $500 million. And this was in, I think, the early 90s by this point. Okay, so $500 million went a long way in the early 90s. It's going to go a long way today. So what did this guy have to believe, right? To go that long and stick with that passion? And I think this question really applies to artists out there too. Because, plying your trade, having a band and trying to have that band go viral, or being an actor and actually making it through the slog of, thousands of auditions and getting rejected, or being an artist who's pushing boundaries, a painter who's pushing boundaries so much that everyone thinks that the art you're creating, they don't understand it. It's crazy. It's not art, is what people are saying. For years, maybe, before someone finally gets it, gets what you're going after. Okay, so Mel Fisher's story is completely applicable to a lot of careers out there that require you to have this insane belief in what you're doing when everyone else is doubting you. Well, the 3 core beliefs. You have to believe that it's out there. The thing that you want, which is what we discussed earlier. What do you want? What is your desire? What do you need in your life? That thing that you want is actually out there. That's belief number 1. Belief number 2 is that I will and I must find that thing that's out there. There's nothing that will stop me. You know, it's there and I will find it. And then number 3, that when you do actually find it, you have to believe that it's worth it. All right? If you have doubts that say you want to be a billionaire, okay, you want to be the next Elon Musk. I mean, multi-billionaire, right? Almost a trillionaire. You have to believe that that is worth it. And think of all the things that you actually would have to set aside or give up to attain that thing. You have to believe it's worth it. 100%. So certainty, we're back to that idea of certainty that we talked about at the beginning. And that reason why we just start shoving that how aside, we really need to work on these 3 core beliefs. And that comes from the what and the why. So, I have an exercise for you. You're going to come up with your vision. Now, you can always change this vision in the future. You can always change it 3 weeks from now. You can work on this and refine it and make it, more true. You can make it resonate more. This is not a one and done kind of thing, but you have to start somewhere. So, I want you to come up with your vision in 2 decisions, okay? And I want you to take action right now. So if you don't have anything to write this down, if you're in your car and you're listening to this or whatever, I get that. Don't write in your car. You can pull over and write on the side of the road if you're going to do that. Or bookmark this video and come back to it and fast forward to the end here so that you can go through these two vision decisions, okay? Write down, what do you want? And I want you to be specific, okay? You're going to pick 2 aspects of your life because you can't just have one aspect of your life. There are a lot of different things that we want and need, okay? So categories that you might want to look at. What do you want around wealth? What do you want in terms of relationships? Love relationships, friend relationships. What do you want your family life to be like? Is there something that you want having to do with your health? Maybe you want to have so much energy that you wake up at 6 in the morning and you fly out of bed and you jump on the thing that you're passionate about. I mean, wouldn't it be nice to have that kind of energy? That may be a want, and there may be certain things that you need to do to make sure you get that. And related to all of these, but important to maybe think of on its own, is what do you want as a life purpose? Having to do maybe with your career, your vocation, and what do you want in terms of impacting other people's lives? Okay? The second question, so that's your first question, what do you want? Really put some time into this. Okay? And then why? Why do you want those things? Write down as much as you possibly can here. I want you to dig deep. Usually the why is all about emotions, and Usually the surface answer that you come up with is is not necessarily the real resonating why. I think what happens a lot, it certainly has happened with me when I've gone through this exercise, why, you know, the first answer might have to do with how people perceive me, how I'm perceived in the world. But as I dig deeper and deeper, it becomes more about who I want to show up as, and maybe how I want to impact other people's lives. Okay. Now I don't want you to manufacture something that sounds good, you know, that you can tell people and they might go, oh yeah, that's great. That's not necessarily still your why, your really deep down emotional connected why. So one of the things for me is, you know, I went through this, there's another exercise we can go through called 7 levels deep. And it has to do with finding whys, you know, why do you really want to do something? And by the time I got to the end of that exercise and stripped away all of that other stuff, all of a sudden some emotion started welling up. And I got to this answer that just felt finally right. And look, I had gone through this exercise probably 4 or 5 times before I ever really felt it, okay? And for me, it was, I never want to be held back again, okay? I never want anyone, including myself, to hold me back ever again. And why that resonated with me so much was that when I was in kindergarten, I started kindergarten when I was 4. I think I was 4 and 3 months or something like that. And at that point, I was already very hard on myself and a perfectionist and very pensive child, and felt that I had to do everything perfectly and all of that. And my parents were worried about me, that maybe they started me in school too early. Maybe the other kids were ahead of me. Maybe they were bigger and had more exposure to things, and so we're more advanced. So at the end of my first kindergarten year, and I say first for a reason, they chose to have me do kindergarten again. Now, I did not do badly in kindergarten. I don't know if anyone can really do badly in kindergarten. But there was also another circumstance here that played into this. My dad, his birthday is around the same time of year as mine. He started when he was 4. His parents did not hold him back. And he always felt, going through school, that he was always behind the other kids. And so his psychology and how he felt about his childhood definitely colored the decision that they made to hold me back. But I remember, I dug in, and once I did this exercise, I got a memory. I don't have many memories from before I was, say, 8, but this actually popped into my head. I remember being in that kindergarten classroom, the same one, the second year, and looking out the window and seeing all my friends from the first year, who were now in first grade, playing at recess without me. They got to go do their recess, and I was still stuck in my kindergarten room. I never want to be held back again, ever. And I don't want myself. I don't want me to hold myself back through perfectionism and fear and doubt and worry and all of those negative emotions that can claw us down into the abyss. So I really want you to dig into this. Why do you want it? And keep doing it till you find something that's extremely emotional. Because that's going to help you through the times when other emotions start coming up to block you. Because there will be obstacles and challenges, and those things will be triggers for your emotions and old patterns. So you have a strong enough why, can obliterate all that stuff. All right. That's why you want to be able to have this phrase that keys into your emotions and changes your state immediately. And of course, last, okay, what one old belief do you need to throw away, and what empowering belief can you adopt or replace it with? Okay, one thing I want you to remember, so we're going to go from disbelief to belief here. And it's important to note that beliefs are only truth if you hold on to them. It may seem like it's true. You may believe that you have a lot of evidence that backs up your beliefs. But I have to remind you, there are many ways to choose to view what at first seems like a given. Okay, if we go back to that rough exercise that I did earlier, where you might, as an artist, believe that your current fans aren't tech savvy enough, and so there's no way that they could figure out how to buy NFTs, and where would they hold them, and how would they display them, and on and on and on. See, the way that we're shifting our view or shifting our belief is, even if you still hold that as truth, there is another way to look at this and say, oh, well, there are plenty of people out there who know all about NFTs and blockchain and cryptocurrencies, and they're all excited to play in this game of NFTs and collect music and visual art and video and experiences like going to live shows and all of that kind of stuff. And all those people just may be new people that learn about you now. Okay? So that's a way for us to take an old belief, kind of twist it, throw it away, wring it out, strangle it, and replace it with an empowering belief. Well, that's what I got for today. Hopefully this was helpful for you. It's certainly helpful for me, because as I go through this again, it reinforces all of these things that I'm learning while I'm out there. Now, typically, I'm not going to be doing all of these mindset videos. I might do 1 out of 10 or something like that. But it's important, I think, for all of us to every so often really recognize that there's a lot of reasons why not. You know, we get stuck in all of these things that we feel like we need to learn and we currently don't learn. We feel like we're not good enough. We feel like we're not worthy of being loved, whether that's by, you know, your spouse or your children or your parents or your fans. These kinds of feelings come up, and you know, we can just get stuck in them, or we can learn how to work through them, change them, and change our lives and transform not just our lives, but the lives of the people around us, because they can see that we're actually making strides, and then be able to actually get more of what you want. That's my hope for you. I really believe that we can all have a phenomenal future if we put in the work, if we get vulnerable, and if we really follow our hearts. I think, it's going to be a fabulous year. This is just day 23 for me out of 365 in a row. Who knows what life will be like after that? I'm trying not to think too far into the future. I'm really just trying to think about, what can I do on a daily basis here? Take the steps to get good at something and to share what it is that I'm learning with people. And I think the sky's the limit. I want you to all see that I don't have all the answers, but I keep pushing forward. I know you can do that too. I know we're all going to have a phenomenal future. Even though the world may seem like it's throwing a lot of problems at us right now with the war and inflation and pandemics and all that kind of stuff, it's still an amazing time to be alive. and this blockchain stuff, we're just right on the cusp. It's like right at the beginning. And if you can jump on with me right now, we're going to take this for a wild ride. It's going to be like being in a surfing competition and just catching the perfect wave at the perfect moment and riding it all the way in. And yeah, I think that's it for today. I love you, phenoms, and I'll catch you tomorrow.